While this being a great bike and all, there are 5 things that I absolutely hate about my Ducati Monster Plus. And I'm gonna tell you all about it.
I just cut a line with my credit, yeah.
Number 1, the fuel gauge. Now the fuel gauge works like any other fuel gauge. 5 bars means no problem and 0 bars means problem. But Ducati is a big fan of innovation and doing things differently. But innovation and improvement are not necessarily the same thing. So as a result, when this fuel indicator drops down to 2 bars, the top bar will show a range indication. That in itself sounds great. But the range indication is horribly inaccurate, because I can stand at a stoplight having 65 kilometers of range, and then when the light turns green and I go past the turn that I'm going into, I'm suddenly down to 10. But as a result, me being a better safe than sorry type person, I'd rather just go ahead and go get fuel. That innovation, which was designed to make my life easier, actually made it more complicated. Number 2, engine temperature. This engine gets really hot really fast and it's really annoying. In the Monster's defense, I live in one of the relatively densely populated areas in Europe, which of course comes with lots of traffic lights and lots of stop and go traffic. But after like 3 traffic lights, the temperature would have risen to past 100 degrees, switching on the fan, blowing hot air past my legs, have people looking at me like my bike is going to explode, leaving me feeling like I should switch off the engine every time I wait for a light to turn green. Yeah. Number 3, gimmicks and clumsy controls. While this Ducati Monster, rightfully so, is celebrated for having a great electronics package and quite an extensive list, among that list there are features that they don't really work that well. For example, there's an auto-off function on the indicator, which doesn't respond or responds very late. Also, there's launch control on the bike, and I haven't used that once. The user interface of the dashboard is very clear and very easy to understand, but the buttons and the controls are actually very fiddly. It takes a lot of time to have them respond. So simple things like switching a riding mode actually demands you to look away from the road, and that's not something that I'm a big fan of. Number 4, wind protection. I do feel like I'm a bit of a bitch bringing that up because it's a naked bike. And a naked bike always catches a lot of wind. But I've owned quite a few naked bikes in my life. And in comparison to a lot of those bikes, the wind protection on this machine is very bad. And this being a Ducati Monster Plus, which actually came with a windshield, at least Ducati calls it that, you can simply see that it doesn't really shield winds. I switched that for a Puig Sport windscreen, and that improves it, like speeds around 80 kilometers an hour. But on the highway, it's still not very comfortable. Number 5, the finish. Now, this Ducati being a Ducati, and also being a brand that never in the history of its existence has been celebrated for being a good value for money, there are some bits and bobs about this motorcycle that sometimes make me feel like I got scammed. For example, there's a sticker on the tank that is letting loose a little bit. The foot pegs get very slippery when they are wet, and that feels like poor material choice to me. And my front disc rotor is showing signs of rust, and this machine being 8,000 kilometers old, always being inside, at this price point that this machine sits in, I don't think it should be doing that. So, well, thank you for listening to me moaning about this other than all this great bike. If you have the energy and tolerance left, you can also listen to me talk positive about it or about the modifications that I did. And other than that, be good.